Super Tuesday coverage rolls on here at the Oklahoman's video studio. Good evening once again. I am Dave Morris. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. You can follow us throughout the night. We'll have live election coverage from the Oklahoman's video studio on newsok.com/live. We're tweeting on our various NewsOK and Reporter Twitter accounts. I'll give you some behind the scenes look on our Facebook page, the NewsOK Facebook page. Be sure to like that. Once we stop down here, I'll go live on that Facebook page, maybe take you back in the control room. Behind me on the set, you're seeing returns from the Oklahoma State Election Board. We spoke with Brian Dean earlier tonight. He indicated things were going smoothly from the election board throughout the day, and the results are starting to come in. We're seeing 56 of 1,956 precincts reporting. Todd Frazier just told me over the speakers that's less than 3%. But that said, we're starting to get some numbers. Joining us now from Washington, D.C., our man in Washington, Chris Casteel, and the Oklahoman's Owen Canfield. Gentlemen, thank you for your time tonight.
I'm glad to be here, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Well, I know you guys are following the results. Chris, I'll start with you first. Various media outlets are calling various states. They're saying Trump wins Alabama, Massachusetts, Tennessee. What are you seeing so far?
On the Oklahoma side, very close race. I mean, it may be two hours or more before we know who's going to win. I mean, you look at the very early results that you decided. Clinton by a very narrow margin over Bernie Sanders. Trump statewide. I'm looking at Oklahoma County, and they don't have any of today's tallies. They just have absentee in the early voting. And actually, Clinton won pretty handily in Oklahoma County on that, and on the Republican side, Marco Rubio actually led from the counting of absentee and early voting. Rubio, who was in Oklahoma City and Tulsa last night, of course. So it really could be interesting. I mean, this is a state that Rubio really wanted. It's a state that Clinton really wanted, or Sanders really wanted. Sanders was in the state twice in a week. He just wanted some state to claim on this big night. A dozen states voting besides his own, which he won. So there's a chance. We have had reporters in the field in Oklahoma City, all parts of Oklahoma City today, and the quotes they've been feeding in were really heavily tilted towards Trump, Cruz, and Sanders. I mean, that's obviously not scientific in any way. It's just the voters that our reporters are grabbing coming out of the polls, but lots of support for Sanders in Oklahoma City, lots of support for Trump and Cruz.
We're talking with Chris Casteel and Owen Canfield from the Oklahoman for some political perspective. And gentlemen, let's stick on the Democratic side here a second with Bernie Sanders. In the scope of Super Tuesday, with over a dozen states in play and a lot of southern states in play that would probably go Hillary Clinton's way, how important is Oklahoma to Bernie Sanders?
Well,
Go ahead, Owen.
Chris knows way more about all this than I do, but it seems to me that if the polling in advance of today is any indication, then Oklahoma would be very important to Sanders, because he's unlikely, based on polling, to win many of those states that are in play today. And so I think he would take any victory he could get, even if it's by the narrowest of margins. I find this race just fascinating. Oklahoma is a state democratically, in terms of Democrat voting, that traditionally has gone for candidates like, Bill Clinton or just certainly much more moderate Democratic candidates than Bernie Sanders, and yet there's a chance he'll win this state, or certainly if he were to lose it, it's probably going to be very, very close. And I just find that just fascinating how things have changed in such a short amount of time. That a man with the kind of platform, really, as he says, a democratic socialist, that's attractive to Oklahoma Democrats. Very interesting.
We should say too, and we haven't been asking, I don't believe, the Democratic Party in Oklahoma today allowed independents to vote in the Democratic primary. Republicans did not, but the Democratic primary was open to independent voters. There are a lot of them in Oklahoma, and they obviously would be attracted to Sanders more so than Clinton. If they're Democrats,
sure.
I would think they would lean toward Clinton in Oklahoma, but you have this kind of wild card with these independents and in Oklahoma this time, and I think it's probably going to fuel a big turnout, maybe a record turnout, and it's going to help Bernie Sanders. But it was interesting. We talked about this with one of the pollsters, Bill Shapard of Sooner Poll, about the polling being done on the Democratic side over the last few weeks and how the undecided was so large. Like at one point, not long ago, the undecided was still 40%. And you know who Hillary Clinton is at this point. She's like one of the best-known politicians in this country at this point. So if you're undecided for some reason about Clinton, then then that doesn't bode well for Clinton.
No, that's a real indictment. You're right. That's exactly right. I find it very interesting. I've been telling this to friends of mine this week as we chewed on some of this political stuff. It's fascinating to me that a candidate who the day she registered to run for president, if similar candidates had the same resume in terms of scandal and questions and this and that, they'd have been dismissed out of hand as a viable candidate. And yet she is, after tonight, is likely to be the clear front runner nationwide. And on the other side, a Republican candidate who should probably have been disqualified several times over, or would have been if he was any other person, because of the things he said and done since entering the race, is leading on the Republican side. So I mean, it's just wild.
To Owen's point, Hillary Clinton has picked up the Democratic primary wins, according to some media reports, in Georgia, Virginia, Tennessee, and Arkansas. And the Republican leader he mentioned, Donald Trump, getting some victories in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and Massachusetts. And we have updated numbers, 84 precincts reporting. Gentlemen, let's talk about the Republicans real fast. With Trump with a clear lead, how important is tonight for Cruz and Rubio?
Chris, go ahead.
It's critically important, but it's still hard to see with as many states as Trump has already won. I mean, it looks like he's winning these southern states. He's won Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. It looks like he's leading in Massachusetts. So if Cruz wins Texas, Rubio or Cruz wins Oklahoma, I mean they get delegates and they can still claim some prize on this big day, but it's still a delegate race and it's proportional. We should talk about that on both sides. Really, it's not. These are not winner-take-all primaries. Whoever wins Oklahoma, Texas, any of these states is not walking away with every single delegate that state's party had to offer. It could be even really close. You could win Oklahoma and still, only have like 2 or 3 more delegates than the second place finisher. So a lot of this stuff just gets kind of symbolic, So Sanders wins Oklahoma and he's still, hundreds of delegates behind. He wins Oklahoma and still only, grabs 2 or 3 more delegates than Hillary Clinton. I mean, really, what does that mean to him for him realistically? I mean, what state does that help him in that he won Oklahoma? I don't know.
Right. I think what you said, Chris, is really important. Though the symbolism of it. Trump is a snowball rolling downhill, has been now for the last several months, and even if the delegate count doesn't balloon in his favor necessarily tonight, if he's able to walk away tonight and say, well, I won, let's say 7 states or whatever, just as an example, will play into the narrative of I'm the guy to beat, I'm the front runner, these guys can't keep up, blah, blah, blah. And that could potentially have some effect as they go into March 15th, where you have a bunch of winner-take-all states.
Right.
We just spoke with Keith Gaddy and Jeanette Mendez, OU and OSU head of political science departments. They broke down how the math works out for the 43 GOP delegates at play and the 38 delegates at play on the Democratic side. Here in the state of Oklahoma, as Chris mentioned, it's not a winner-take-all situation here. And as you can see behind me, we have more precincts reporting and Bernie Sanders surging ahead of Hillary Clinton. We have been talking with the Oklahomans Chris Casteel and Owen Canfield. I appreciate their time. They will join us once again live here from the Oklahoman's video studio. They will probably be on a phone or Skype at 9:15 tonight. Gentlemen, once again, thank you for your analysis and perspective and your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, and stay with us on newsok.com. Live coverage continues probably through 10 p.m. We will be back at the top of the hour. Kelly Dyer-Fry joins me again. We will have updates from the various watch parties throughout the metro. Stay with us.